Are you building a life? All right? Are you building a life? Or are you just caught up trying to make a living, trying to go day by day, getting caught up in the frivolous things that don't matter? All right? Because a lot of times what I've noticed about life is that most people do not spend time building a life because all they're doing is trying to make a living, living in survival mode, living in the present and the things that society dictates to them that's important, right? And sadly, one of the things that I've been able to notice in my lifetime with experience, I've had the luxury of hindsight and foresight. I've had the luxury of having foresight through the eyes of other people, is that a lot of people misunderstand this life and think, number one, think they have time. And number two, are invested in a bunch of the wrong things and have missed the total idea of what life is about. And like I said, invest themselves in frivolous things like cars and houses and trinkets and partying and what have you. And they don't understand that your life that you're building is not something that you get a chance to do again. You get one chance to build this life. And one of the saddest things about life is living a life that is of no consequence, a life that does not matter. And we've seen it so many times with a lot of people. They live their life and sadly, almost instantly after they die, they've forgotten. Because all they did was they made a living, but they never built a life. You see, one of the things that a lot of people don't tell people is that the life that you make, the life that you build, can extend, and usually does extend, long after you're dead and gone. And now, look at the life that you're building and ask yourself, what kind of life expectancy? How long is that life going to reverberate? Okay? Whose lives are you touching? How are you putting your imprint on this world? Because that's what making a life is all about. All right? The imprint you put on the world, the inspiration you give to other people, how you inspire and grow the people around you. Because when you're dead, because unless you figured out something I haven't figured out, when you're dead, it is that life that you have pumped into the world, into the people around you, that continues. The cars don't continue. The houses don't continue. The party doesn't continue. It is only the best of you, your good works, your value, your real value, that actually continues. And a lot of times we don't really know the value of a man until after he's dead. We don't. It's very easy, right? Well, I shouldn't say it's easy. It's confusing for a lot of people when they see someone walking around alive, right? And they start to calculate what their worth is, what their value is. You know, they look at that person and they see cars, they see money, they see fancy clothes, they see sprawling houses. That is not that person's value nor their worth. That is not the value of their life or what they represent to anyone around them. That's just stuff. Stuff can be taken. Stuff can be lost. Stuff can be burned. Stuff can be lost. Your value as a man is what's calculated after all your money is gone and even your life. That is your value. So what kind of life are you building? And I can give you examples of a valuable life. I can give you examples of a life well built, okay, versus a life that was just lived, okay. You know, I told you guys I had the luxury of being with my father when he died. And that gave me a lot of perspective on life. All right. It helped me understand, you know, what a well-built life is supposed to look like in the process, what it looks like in the end. And in the some 36 plus years after he's dead and gone, right, I understand what the whole gist of life is all about. I do. I understand that calculation. You know, one of the best maths a man can learn is the future cost of current decisions, the future value of the life that you build. Because once again, that value is never really calculated properly until that man is gone, until that person is gone. For instance, I give people the life of, let's say, a Bob Marley, whether you're a reggae fan or not, all right? Just about every single one of us in this world have been fed from the life of Bob Marley. You remember when they asked him, are you a rich man? He says, by rich, are you talking about money? Your richness as a man, your richness as a person, your value as a person, the life that you built is not about your money, it's about your impact. What are you doing with your life to make an impact? I hope it's not about a house. I hope it's not about a car. I hope it's not about digits in your bank account. Because sadly, believe it or not, when you die, which you will, unless you figured out something I have not, all those things are gone. And then your value becomes very clear. Yeah, you know what? Some people might grieve you for a day or two. Maybe. But then what's left is the actual life you have, the actual life you lived. What did you contribute to them? What did you contribute to them? I see so many people trying to live their lives to contribute money to their children. Generational wealth in the form of money. True generational wealth comes in the form of mindset, comes in the form of inspiration, comes in the form of uplifting. That is true generational wealth. Teaching people, guiding people, providing that inspiration for people to think on a higher plane, to understand life on a higher plane, to build better lives themselves. That is generational wealth, not coins and trinkets that go up and down in value. So you have this one life. Once again, what are you doing? Are you getting caught up making a living? Don't get me wrong, it's very easy to get caught up making a living. It's very easy to get caught up in nice things. Like I always tell people, by all means, I like nice things, but I understand very well what those nice things are, but I most especially understand what those nice things are not. I am not the things I have. I am not the things I acquire. I am not the cars, the houses, the trips, the watches. None of those things go into my true calculation of my value. What am I then? I am what is going to be remembered when I'm gone, 10 years, 20 years, after I'm gone. Okay? And sometimes we as people don't understand that sometimes the smallest thing that we do can have the greatest value to the world that we live in. We all have the capacity to have impact, to bring value, to bring inspiration. Some of us understand that the more we mine ourselves, the more we develop ourselves mentally, physically, spiritually, intellectually, the better we get at bringing more value. Once again, My developing myself is to make sure that I, as a man, am able to contribute more to the world. As I always say, the true value, the true definition of a gentleman is someone who puts more into the world than he takes out. What are you putting into the world? How are you preparing yourself to put more into the world? Because once again, it has to start with you putting more into yourself. You have to be capable of putting more in. That is what life is all about. Not getting caught up in stuff. Don't get me wrong, having fun while you're here, right? It can't be a dull and boring ride. You gotta live, you gotta experience, you gotta get out there. But we also have to remember what's really important. Okay? What's really important. Shirley says it starts off with a stable mind. It starts off with a clear mind, having clarity on what is important, having clarity on what matters, having clarity on what is and what isn't. Okay? What is and what isn't? What is the purpose of your life? Look at your life today and realize the life that you enjoy is because someone else somewhere along the line brought value. And that value was able to increase your capacity, your ability, the things that you are able to do today. What are you doing for the people tomorrow? Because that is your life. That is the life that you're going to build. You know, a lot of people would be more careful about the life that they have and the life they're building if they understood that when you're dead, it's when your life really begins. Right? Imagine living 70 years and then dying and then you're forgotten within 7 months. What you did or didn't do was of so little consequence that sometimes the very children that you have don't even visit your grave. No one around you says anything about you. Every now and then you're a passing thought. To me, that's scary. And we only have a certain amount of time to build a life of consequence. We only have a certain amount of time to invest in ourselves so we can make the biggest impact, use the gifts and the talents that we have to impact the world as best we can. We always talk about God's greatest gift to us. We're always asking God. God's greatest gift to us was and is and always has been our unlimited potential. It is up to us to mine that potential, to develop that potential, and then bring that potential to bear. So that when we die, when we're gone, that the energy that we put out into the world continues. Look at your life right now. Is that going to be the case? What are you doing with your life? Is your life wrapped up in things? Things that don't matter, people that don't matter, activities that don't matter, mindsets of destruction? Or is it wrapped up in things that will uplift and build? Things that will have you and your name imprinted in the hearts and minds of everyone you came across. You know, once again, some of us can be fortunate and have lofty ideas of having the kind of impact of, somebody like a Bob Marley, or even, I hope I could ever live up to the impact that my dad had on the people around him, or even that he had on me. But what I am willing to do is I'm willing to work on it, and I damn sure think it's worth the try. But what I will not do is get wrapped up living my life based on stuff that can be taken away, stuff that is gone the moment I die. Because that's not life. That is not what life is intended to be. And I hope that all the gifts and the talents that I was given as a person, that's not all I'm remembered for. Having a nice car, having a nice watch, wearing nice clothes. I hope that I leave more of an imprint on the lives of the people around me, so that when people hear my name a decade after I'm dead, that it makes them smile and they can point to something and say, there was that day I heard that guy and he said something. And because of that guy, it gave me a certain perspective on life, and that perspective has led me to do this, and I told this person about this because, I heard that guy say that. That means my vibration, my life, my energy, my works, they continue. And once again, we can inspire people in many different ways. Everybody doesn't have to have a large platform or anything like that, or be a public speaker or anything like that. You'd be surprised where some of the greatest people in the world who inspired them. But you don't inspire people by being selfish with yourself. You inspire people by being giving, by planting, by investing in yourself so you can invest in others, by pouring and fertilizing all the people around you, pouring into them, fertilizing them, making sure that you're putting out good product that they can grow from, not destroy themselves from. That's what life's about, at least for me. Okay? And it is a one-time ride, unless you figured out something I haven't figured out. All right? And I don't know if I would want to do it twice. But it is a one-time ride, and it's filled with bumps and bruises. It's filled with losses. It's filled with mistakes. But every one of those bumps, bruises, losses, and mistakes can be also learning lessons, growth opportunities for you to get better and stronger. All right? But that is what life is, and that is what your life should be about. Not the frivolous, not the meaningless. It's about gaining a different understanding, a certain perspective on life. It's about questioning yourself, looking at what life really means, right? And not perpetuating activities and mindsets of destruction, but actually sitting there and thinking about it. Is this actually going to be something that I want to perpetuate, right? And if not, then what do I want to perpetuate? What is it that I can do? What is it that I can be? Who is it that I can be, that I can then implant, that I can then project, so that when I'm dead and gone, that life, that energy, that vibration continues. And it has to be larger than you. It has to be bigger than you and just your kids. Because remember, you're able to do certain things because some people sacrifice themselves and thereby sacrificed sometimes the lives that they had or could have had with their children because they were focused on creating a better path for you and your children, for people they did not know, because they understood that is the gist of life. Life is larger than just them. Life is larger than just their comfort, their safety, their money, their this, their that. They sacrificed, they gave, they died, they were slaughtered in some cases. And the best of them knew that they knew that fate. They understood that, and they embraced that because they understood life is bigger. Okay? Life is bigger. A lot of, once again, we enjoy a lot of things today, right? Because some people saw the fire, saw the danger, and understood what it was, and yet walked into it to provide more life, better life for us. Look around you. Look at the things you enjoy. Imagine if people before us was as selfish as we are today. Self-centered. Okay? Someone says, I'm grateful for my ancestors. A lot of people say that. But how do we show that gratitude? Do we show that gratitude by paying it forward? A lot of people don't. A lot of people don't even show that gratitude in the lives that they live. They don't even acknowledge the reason why they're able to do the things they are. They're able to do this because somebody died. Think about that. Where would you be if everyone before you had your mentality? Selfish, self-centered, focused on just me. I'm just trying to live my life. Where would you be? Something to think about. Our lives have to be more than just making a living. We have to create a life, because that life that we do create lives, echoes, reverberates long after we take our last breath. Okay? You have to ask yourself now, what are you building? What are you creating? Something to think about. All right? Are you building a life, or are you just making a living? Okay? Exactly. It's more than just existing. All right? Because when you no longer exist, then what? And especially since we don't control how long we exist, we may want to build something that can exist and live longer than we. And how do we do that? We do that by planting life into the world. We do that by planting life into people. We do that by growing everything and everyone around us. You know? I always love meeting people in the street. Who in some way, shape, or form I have inspired. You know, and yeah, you know, I may not have the biggest impact in the world, but it always feels good to know that you have touched the lives of other people. You know, when you hear that, you know, a mother out there had their child watch your videos, and their child now is, you know, doing better, thinking better, eating healthier, you know, to me that's life. To me, that's an extension of my life. You know, because you never know who that child is going to be, or who that child's child is going to be, because of something that you did to inspire. You know, that's what life is. You know, life is not about putting out toxic music so you can make a couple of dollars. Life is not about promoting toxic substances so you can buy a bigger car. You know, because that very car that you buy could be the car that kills you. And then what? Life ends. That's it. And you think they're going to remember you and love you because of the toxic stuff you put out? Look at history, right? History will tell you a lot about life. History will tell you a lot about the life that you're building. Some of the people that had the most exciting, quote unquote, lives while they were alive are not even mentioned now. Haven't been mentioned for decades. Stopped being mentioned, except for in a derogatory way, the moment they died. That's what you want for yourself? Come on now. Denise says, surviving cancer because of your encouraging to eat and you see, there you go. And to be truthful, you know, Denise has inspired me a lot with her plant-based recipes, with her energy that she brings to life. You know, we water each other. Okay? We pour into each other, and it's easy to pour into people. when you're pouring love, when you're pouring growth, you know. And I would consider myself somewhat fortunate that I actually am able to see some of the trees and flowers that I have planted actually bear fruit, you know. But like I always say, you know, one of the true understandings of life, I think I think there's a Chinese quote that says, the man who plants a tree with full knowledge that he will not enjoy the shade nor enjoy the fruit, has truly understood what life is about. That is what I'm talking about. Okay? Look at the people who sacrificed to allow people like me to be able to be here. Okay? You look at somebody like a Bob Marley, you look at somebody like a Malcolm X, you know, people who knew quite well that they were going to be killed for what they do. And yet they continued. They planted that tree, knowing that they would not enjoy the shade, knowing that they would not taste the fruit, but they planted and fertilized as long as they could when they were alive. That's life. That's an understanding of life. You can't kill that person, because that person lives in every single person that they touched. Every single one. The question is, will that be you? Will that be you? What are you living? What are you doing with the life that you have? Is it supposed to be over the moment you draw your last breath? Because if it is, then maybe you might want to do some recalculations. Okay? Something to think about, right? Anyway, good morning, guys. What's happening there, Regina? Good morning. Hey, Danielle, what's happening? Good morning. Saw somebody I wanted to say what's up to, and then I forgot. There you go. Hey, Bernice. Bernice saying, may the work she's done speak for her. You know, the work we do always speaks for us. The question is, what is it saying? Because a lot of times some people are speaking, but they ain't saying shit. Had all the talent in the world, all the ability, had all the opportunity, and said nothing, did nothing, gave nothing, or were nothing. And so once they're dead and gone, there's nothing to be said. Well, yeah, I remember him. That's what life is. You know? That's what life is. What are you doing with your life, with your chance to build? And yes, I do appreciate everyone who tells me while I'm alive that I have inspired them. I am very appreciative of that, because you know what? That's the kind of stuff that gives me energy. That's the kind of stuff that makes me keep working harder. Doesn't make me take my foot off the pedal. It actually makes me drive harder. Because I do understand the fact that life is fickle and life is fragile and life can end like that. But at least I know a few people that my life continues in. And that is honestly a very good feeling. And every day I wake up and try to touch someone else. Every day I wake up and try to be better as a person so that I can pour better into people. All right?